is why the Stockton chapter of Martin Dimes is a 2015 Ambassador Council. Our story is heart-wrenching, yet incredibly inspiring. Incomprehensible, yet amazingly triumphant. A sad beginning to a tale that will now most certainly have a happily ever after. My daughter Casey was born on July 11, 2013, at 27 weeks gestation, weighing in at an astounding 1 pound 10 ounces. They rushed her away to the NICU and worked aggressively to keep her alive. Doctors gave her surfactant to help her lungs, started IVs, and put a tube down her throat. The nurse, who had been in the operating room working on Casey, Christine, told me she would do everything in her power to get me to the NICU to hold my baby. She came by my room at 9 p.m., almost exactly 12 hours after Casey had been born, and asked, "Are you ready?" I was, and yet I wasn't. I was excited and terrified all at once. The most amazing Christine wheeled my entire bed over to the NICU, navigating through skinny hallways and tight doorways. I remember it seemed like hours for her to get Casey out of the incubator and into my arms with all the tubes and wires. As she gently placed Casey in my arms, I was overwhelmed with emotion. I cried for the baby, who I knew had a very tough road ahead of her. My emotions were very conflicted. I wanted so much to feel the joy of having a new baby, but the fear was overpowering. As I lay there, staring at her and holding her tiny hand, a fierce determination to always love and protect her was awakened inside me. I made the commitment to her that day that I would do anything and everything in my power to be the best mother I could for her. Those first days we spent in the NICU were intimidating and frightening. Every time I was there, Casey's alarms would sound, and the nurse in charge would have to pat her back or rub her vigorously to get her heart rate up and her breathing back to normal. On the second day we were there, we learned that they had found a very large hole in the ventricle, VSD, of Casey's heart that would most definitely require open heart surgery. I thought, what on earth are you talking about? This too? Casey would spend the next 5 months of her life in the NICU, more than 90 miles away from our home. I drove every day by myself to hold her for 1 hour. I took solace in the fact that Casey had the same NICU nurse pretty much every day for the entire 5 months. Ruth was an angel, and I swear to you, never took a day off. We got to know each other well, and she was a huge source of support for me. She taught me everything I needed to know about being a mom to a preemie. Some days, I was completely overwhelmed about what lay ahead for my tiny baby, and Ruth would tell me, one day at a time. Sounds so simple, but those words changed my life. Casey had her first of many surgeries on August 30th, which repaired the intestinal blockage. Then came the daunting task of teaching Casey how to eat from a bottle. A mother of a full-term baby would never understand that simply feeding your child could become a life or death situation. I loved the hour every day that I got to hold her. It was like medicine for my broken soul. Every day I would walk in, I would ask Ruth, did she gain any weight? Did she eat well? And of course, the one moms always have to know, did she poop? Ruth liked to dress Casey in cute outfits, so I was always eager to see what she was wearing. We celebrated many milestones during those months. Neonatologists were concerned that Casey wasn't gaining sufficient weight because her heart was having to work extra hard. Plans were made to transfer her to UCSF. Casey had her first open heart surgery on November 19th. The surgeon placed a band around the pulmonary artery to staunch the blood flowing into her lungs. While she was in UCSF, she also required laser eye surgery because the ophthalmologist saw signs of retinopathy of prematurity. She would later have 2 more. After 2 weeks in San Francisco, the ambulance transported Casey back to Roseville. I was both relieved and at the same time sad. Luckily, it wasn't long before they told us Casey could go home. We brought Casey home from the hospital on December 7, 2013, where I spent every day fearing my child would stop breathing or her heart would stop at any moment. I wanted to be happy and excited, but those emotions would run over by fear and anxiety. After a few weeks with no scary surprises, I decided it was safe for me to be happy and excited. I loved waking up with her in the bassinet right beside me. We loved giving Casey a bath. I finally got to rock her to sleep at night and sing her lullabies. I was so excited to at last do all the things I had wanted to do with her since birth. Casey had open heart surgery at UCSF in March. We were told not to expect that she'd ever be a normal child. I finally was able to take Casey home on April 2nd. Having a preemie turns your world completely upside down. Since being released from the hospital, my miracle child has continued to prove them all wrong and defy the odds that were stacked against her from day one. She is growing in all areas. She has continued to be followed by many different specialists, but in June was released from the high-risk infant follow-up team. Cognitively, she is right on track for her age. She is talking a mile a minute and has the sweetest disposition of any 2-year-old I have ever known. Despite her tough beginning to life, you would never know by looking at her that she had been through anything different than any other 2-year-old child. We are warriors, not by choice, but born of necessity. And my daughter Casey is the strongest warrior I know. She taught her mommy and daddy to fight the good fight. The misconception that mothers of preemies must not have taken care of themselves during pregnancy, thereby causing the early birth, is completely untrue, unfair, and just plain hurtful to mothers who, like me, did everything right. By sharing our story, I hope to bring heart and humanity to what all of you are here for tonight. I believe there can be a future where premature births are nearly eradicated with the continued research and medical advances made by the March of Dimes. I would like to say thank you to the amazing nurses, doctors, and caregivers who cared for Casey for the first year of her life, some of whom are in attendance tonight. I would also personally like to thank the March of Dimes for making the impossible possible. On behalf of our friends and family, I would like to present March of Dimes with a donation of $250. Thank you for allowing me to share my story and for your continued support for such a deserving cause. I would like to bring my husband and my daughter Casey back up on stage.